You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. And if you're the Wild and you're looking at what's happening above you in the division with the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, two of the best teams in hockey, like, you need to make a push.
We have a trade to the Vancouver Canucks, Marco Rossi, Zeev Buium, Liam Ohgren, and a 2026 first-round pick to the Minnesota Wild defenseman Quinn Hughes. Pete, I feel a little robbed. I think we were kind of taking it easy in terms of the where's Quinn Hughes going to go? What could the packages look like? Because we thought we had time to figure this out. Quinn Hughes becomes a free agent at the end of next season. And yeah, we thought maybe he ends up getting traded this year because the Canucks were kind of turning into a mess. But I feel a little robbed. We got a couple of days of Red Wings talk. We had some time doing the Devils thing. But out of nowhere, Pete, comes Bill Guerin. And I got my own thoughts on this, but I want yours in reaction to the Minnesota Wild landing Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, the inevitability of the Quinn Hughes trade was, we felt it, but I still didn't feel like we were going to get it mid-season, and definitely not this early, and definitely not to a team that we hadn't really discussed as a potential option. Like, this was shocking. But like, if Vancouver knew that he wasn't going to resign there, and they seem to know that for quite some time, it's a good time to trade him. And it's a good time for another team like the Wild to go and make that swing, because if they want to flip him at some point and they decide that they're not going to be able to get him to sign an extension there, it's a good time to do it. So, like, it makes sense. I'm still shocked, and I'm shocked that it's the Wild, but I'll tell you what, I kind of love it. I kind of love it for both sides. I won't say that I love it for the Canucks, because they absolutely lost this trade. If you have to trade Quinn Hughes, you're going to lose this trade. But not a bad package coming back in return. I love Zeev Buium.
Yeah, I love this trade for the Canucks. Like, really. And I know that Quinn Hughes is the best player in the... What's that?
You can't love this trade for the Canucks. You just can't.
This is why. Well, I guess I love this trade relatively. They've made the best of a bad situation, and they didn't do something that a lot of teams stupidly do, which is, we're trading this guy. We don't want it to come back to bite us. So let's choose which teams we think minimize the risk of how much it'll come back to bite us. And in doing that, you're tying a hand behind your back and you're not getting the best deal. I think it was so important for the Canucks to get the best deal, because you're right, it's a lose if you trade Quinn Hughes no matter what, but also something to consider. This is the first big trade, with apologies to Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry. This is the first big trade this season, and it's the first case of a team clearly selling. The Canucks are setting the market to not fuck themselves when they're selling their other guys, because they got more trades to make as well. So if they do this Quinn Hughes trade and it's, okay, we're giving him to the Devils because we figure he's going to go to the Devils eventually, and you know what? Give us 60 cents on the dollar, and that's okay. When they then go to trade their other guys, when they go to trade Connor Garland or Kiefer Sherwood, the market's been set as, okay, we guess it's sort of a buyer's market. I like that they held strong. I like they went out and they got the best offer. Now, for the Wild, I love it because long gone are the days of them being uninteresting. They now have a good core. They're very exciting. And yeah, there's a lot of risk in this because he still could walk if he wants to go to the East Coast at the end of this contract. But they did give up a lot. Like, Marco Rossi is a 24-year-old top six center who obviously everybody would rather have Quinn Hughes. So that's fine. But he's on a bridge deal that when he's at the end of it, 3 times 5, when he's at the end of that deal, he's still going to be an RFA. So that's a really, really good commodity.
They don't even like him. It seems like they don't even like him that much. They didn't want to give him that contract anyway. Like, they were trying to trade Marco Rossi last summer. So they're not in love with the player.
Yes, they're definitely not in love with him, but that's still the fact. Is he not a 24-year-old top six center? That's a really good. So like that's a huge, huge piece. Zeev Buium has not played as much on the power play as you would think that he would, but he's a good left shot power play quarterback. He's young. He's on his entry level deal. If you're losing Quinn Hughes, that is the type of piece that you want to get back. So that's great. Ohgren is a first round pick who hasn't really solidified himself as a good NHL player yet. So that's kind of a scratch ticket. And then a 2026 first round pick, which is not going to be high because the Wild, despite being in a now stacked division, are going to make the playoffs. It's not going to be a lottery pick, so that's whatever. It's still a decent asset. The big things, though, that they got here are Zeev Buium and Marco Rossi, and I think that is a really, really good haul to get if you're a team like the Canucks who kind of has your neck in the guillotine as it relates to this.
Yeah, definitely. And from Minnesota side, like again, they weren't in love with Rossi. Like giving up Buium hurts, but like you're getting Quinn Hughes. And hopefully they can re-sign Quinn Hughes. That's the goal for them. But they have a year-long runway. They give themselves exclusive edge in terms of the CBA not kicking in. They can front load that contract. They can give him 8 years.
Yeah.
7 or 8. Is
8.
it 8? So they can give him eight
Oh, wait.
years. It might be
Well, yeah, because the new CBA doesn't start until September. So on July 1, they just can't like sign him into next year at 8. But this summer they could sign him to 8.
Yeah. Okay. So he's eligible for an extension on July 1st. They can sign him to an 8-year deal. They can front load it with bonuses. Like they have the CBA edge over any other team. So that might help them. But like Rossi, okay, Ohgren hasn't worked out like you mentioned. They can say fuck their first round pick. They don't give a shit about that. Like you signed Kirill Kaprizov to $17 million. Why? Because you're in a window right now. You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. And if you're the Wild and you're looking at what's happening above you in the division with the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, two of the best teams in hockey, like you need to make a push. Getting Quinn Hughes and giving yourself a core for at least a year of Quinn Hughes, Matt Boldy, Kirill Kaprizov, 3 superstars in the NHL, and a pretty good lineup beyond those guys, and Wallstedt, emerging as a really good goaltender. This move makes them one of the best teams in the NHL. And I think 3 of the best and most fearsome teams in the NHL sit 1, 2, 3 in the Central Division. You have to be aggressive and you have to push. This is an unbelievable move, I think.
Yeah, I think they're not done, though. I think they can't be done. If they're saying, okay, we're kind of shortening our window a little bit, but by shortening your window, assuming that you're able to sign him, which is a huge if, you have, and consider that the other 2 teams I'm about to mention don't have theirs locked up long term. So I guess they're all kind of in the same category. You are in the top 3 as far as, unless I'm forgetting somebody. I think of 2 teams when you say teams that have incredible duos. Like, how do they have both of those players on the same team in a league that has, as I read in 32 Thoughts the other day, not parody, but Garrity? Pretty funny. The
Gary?
Wild, Gary Bettman has wanted parody for so long.
Oh my
And he
God.
will make it happen one way or another. So it is Garrity. I believe it was the lead thought in 32 Thoughts the other day. Very good from Elliot Friedman. You think of the Avalanche, you think of McKinnon and Makar, and of course you think of Edmonton with Draisaitl and McDavid. I think the third team there you think of, and not to say that having a duo means you win the cup, because the Avalanche haven't won the last couple of years and the Oilers have gotten close, but they haven't. But if you're talking about what do you want to build around and you want to have 2 absolute studs, Hughes and Kaprizov, and I don't even know, like sometimes I don't even know who I would say is the better player between those 2, but they are both they're both certainly top 10 players.
Yeah.
And I how many other teams have that? So you are in such a good spot. Again, assuming you can sign the player. As it relates to the CBA and having the edge there, I feel like there are certain players, in Quinn Hughes I put on that list, where it doesn't really matter, I think, that you can give them an 8-year deal and they can front load it with bonuses. I think that certain players, Matthews has done this and McDavid's doing it now, although McDavid's doing it on like no money. I think he's like, in any given year, I can make whatever I want. I am a name brand. I'm one of the best players in hockey. So, yeah, you can give me 8 years, but I could also say, give me 2 years. And then in 2 years, I'll say, okay, give me 2 years at a couple $1 million more. Not every player is afforded that opportunity. Not every player has that cachet, but Quinn Hughes does. So I think that that might be one thing that offsets that. I'm a big get the player guy. As long as you're a team that thinks it's taking the next step, this is a leap forward for the Wild. As long as I think they need to replace Rossi somehow, and that's going to be easier said than done. But they need to be in the market now for not someone who's quite as good an asset, not someone as young, but as centers become available, they need to pounce. They need to not be done because you're going to end up being a little thin down the middle now.
Come on down, Casey Middlestat and or Pavel Zacha.
Pavel
Like,
Zacha would be Pavel Zacha would be perfect for them.
yeah, I mean, I agree they're probably not done. This shows that like they are going to be as aggressive as they can possibly be to contend this year and next year. And that's super exciting for a team that we've constantly berated for being boring and uninteresting. With outside of the past couple of years, they are now one of the most interesting teams in the NHL. And also now very, very interesting, the Vancouver Canucks, because how wild is it that like a month ago, they came out and they say, we are open for business. You can have any one of our players except for Quinn Hughes. And Quinn Hughes is the first guy to get traded from that group. Fucking crazy. Now you've got like, what is it going to look like there for the next few months? Like
Well,
nobody in Vancouver like can be enjoying their time in Vancouver over the next month or two. It's going to be absolutely weird vibes. And I mean, like Sherwood, Garland, I think we know they're going to go. Maybe Myers, maybe Kane. But like, how's Brock Besser feeling? He just signed that long-term extension in an attempt to, convince Hughes to stay there. Like, I feel like they signed Besser and Demko to make a push to keep Quinn Hughes. And like that Demko contract hasn't even kicked in. And it's like, why? Why are you going to keep him? They
the one
didn't
that I
need they didn't need to sign that extension. They went a year early, and now it's like, why is Thatcher Demko gonna be there? That
the
was
one
what one of my earliest thoughts yesterday was like, damn, that Demko contract sucks both in that he's gonna have to stay in Vancouver in a teardown, maybe, or they can trade him, but that's a tough number to trade. And if they hadn't signed him, he would have been so perfect for the Oilers. Would have been so perfect to trade to Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean that is 8.5 is high though. I know that he did it at a time when everybody was doing it, but damn. The one that I want to talk about was Besser quickly because I mean that was such a they love me not. Like, is he staying? Is he going? Damn, does he wish that flower had one more petal on it
I know.
because it really seemed like he was gone, and then he ends up sticking around. And yeah, but if you're the Canucks, I don't think this has to be a total teardown. I think that
It
you're
already
not
is.
you're not no, but I mean like I don't think you necessarily have to go to the bottom. Like the next couple of years, bottom of the standings type of team. I think that they'll have money in the offseason. And I think that with what they have back, they do have like the beginnings of something that is it's not like a top core in the league, but you have a young center now. You got younger at defense, but like Zeev Buium, I think, he's already, I think, a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. He's going to be a really good power play quarterback. I think that he'll be probably a power play merchant over there now that they don't have Hughes anymore. I think that job's just going to end up going to him. I think that it doesn't need to become as horrible as it probably would have gone if they made a deal with New Jersey, if New Jersey was under the impression that they didn't have to give much because he's just going to sign with them anyway. I think it's and same would have gone if they got like a similar haul from the Red Wings with good management, and that's a big if. This
Huge
doesn't
if.
have to be a go to the bottom of the league and be respectfully, Sean, the Buffalo Sabres for like after they traded Jack Eichel.
Brother. I don't know. Like obviously it might depend on what you get back from the remaining pieces, but they're already dead last in the NHL.
Oh
And
no,
they
I'm
just
this season.
Quinn
Yes,
Hughes. Yeah.
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about this season. This season, obviously, they are at the bottom and they're terrible. But I'm saying they can be like kind of like where the Bruins are right now, which is probably bad, but can be a team that maybe sits in the middle and eventually pushes a little bit.
I mean,
And
like, I think it
that's the
honestly might
scenario.
be better. I think it might be better for them if they just say, we are stripping this down to the studs and we'll start from scratch. Because I don't believe in what they have there now enough that there's like a viable path forward. You look at the Bruins and you're like, you have Pasternak, you have McAvoy, you have Swayman, you have big pillars at each end of the ice. Who are the big pillars for the Vancouver Canucks right now? Like you have Buium, maybe, but what else?
Yeah. I
So
mean,
that's it. It could be real bad there, and I just don't. I feel like this is the biggest single like core teardown in the NHL in terms of like speed and like how quickly it happened. I should say since the Ottawa Senators when they like tore it down after 2017, where you look back and you're like, oh, they had Carlson, they had Mark Stone, they had all these guys, they had Zibanejad, and then a couple of years later, they're all gone and they're elsewhere. Like the Canucks have just distributed players all across the league. Bo Horvat, Lindholm, Zadorov, now Quinn Hughes, and that list is just going to keep going on and on. This is just an unbelievable case of mismanagement from
oh yeah,
Vancouver.
a year and a half ago, they were a win away from the Western Conference Final, and they were on the rise. Their young guys were growing into their roles. They had a mix of good vets, and a year and a half later, their best player and their star is gone, among along with everybody else, including the goalie that was getting them there, the young goalie that was taking the step forward in Artur Shilov's crazy mess. So that was like, I'd say best case scenario, they can be what I said before, but that is with savvy, proper management. And I think that management has kind of gotten them here, but also sometimes just shit doesn't go your way. Tough day to be a Canucks fan. I don't know though. Maybe Marco Rossi. Nothing's going to replace like the impact that Quinn Hughes has, but I will at the very least say you have more good players today than you had yesterday.
Definitely.
And
Are
it's
you
not a
rooting?
pony for horses thing because like Buium I do consider a potential horse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Are you rooting for Quinn Hughes long term in Minnesota, or would you like to see a secondary installment of this drama?
I like the idea of Quinn Hughes kind of being the KD of the NHL because that guy definitely doesn't want to be. He doesn't want any attention he's not he's not requested. But seeing him bounce around kind of could be fun. I'm really happy for the Wild that they took this swing, and I want to see swings like this rewarded. I wanted to see it happen last year when the Hurricanes went after Rantanen. It didn't work out, but I want teams that are kind of told you're not in the cool kids club. You don't get to have the good things happen to you. I like when they say, "Well, our money is just as good as anybody else's. We have the assets to get this player. We're going to try." So hats off to Bill Guerin for that. Yeah, I'll say I hope he stays there. How about you?
Yeah, I mean,
It's not the best jersey for
part of me is rooting for a little bit more balance in terms of the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. That's why I'd kind of like to see him maybe end up with an Eastern Conference team. I love the idea of Detroit, but now
yeah.
we'll see. So, yeah, this is exciting. I'm just excited that Quinn Hughes is out of Vancouver and we don't have to slow play this thing when we know that it probably wasn't going to stick there. So, very, very exciting stuff.
All right, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure I'm assuming this is just going on YouTube anyway. Who knows? I don't know anything. But make sure you are subscribed and give this video a like. We love you so much. We have daily episodes Monday through Thursday. We'll talk to you then. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to What Chaos here on YouTube. You will get everything, daily episodes, player interviews, and so much more. It's all here on the What Chaos YouTube. Hit subscribe.